All right, today we're cracking open a really fascinating blueprint for building what you might call a mental fortress. And forget all that vague advice. This is a systematic 12-month plan for forging true tournament toughness. Let's get into it.
You know what I'm talking about, right? We've all seen it. The athlete who is just brilliant in practice, but then the big moment comes and they just crumble. It's like all that physical skill just evaporates. So, what is actually going on there?
Well, the answer we're going to explore today comes from a pretty incredible source. It's a year-long, super detailed mental training program that was created for an 11-year-old girl who was already competing against players way older than her. It's basically a roadmap for building emotional control right from the ground up.
So, the entire year is broken down into these four distinct phases. First, it's all about laying a solid foundation of calm focus. Then, you build on top of that with strategic discipline when the pressure's on. The third quarter is all about learning to be resilient when things inevitably go wrong. And finally, it all comes together to develop a real leadership mindset. So let's see how this fortress gets built, brick by brick, starting with phase one.
The journey doesn't start with complicated psychology. Nope. It starts with simple, repeatable actions. The first 3 months are all about one single idea: control what you can actually control. We're talking your breath, your focus, and your attitude in between the points. Now, the cornerstone of this entire system is the reset routine. You could almost think of it like a mental do-over button. So you just made a bad mistake or lost a big point. This simple routine is a physical trigger that tells your brain, hey, that's over, we're moving on to the next one. And it breaks down into just 3 dead simple steps. First, you physically turn your back on the court. This literally breaks your line of sight with a mistake. Second, you take one deep, intentional breath to calm your whole nervous system down. And finally, use a single cue word, like fight or calm, to lock your focus right back in. It's this powerful little micro-habit that can stop one bad point from snowballing into a total meltdown. This quote from legendary coach Rick Machi just captures the whole spirit of phase one perfectly. See, the goal isn't to be flawless, it's to maintain a productive attitude. That reset routine isn't about erasing your mistakes, it's about choosing your response to them. So, you've got that foundation of emotional control. How do you build on it? Well, now it's time to test it. The next few months are all about intentionally creating stress in practice so that when that stress shows up in a real match, it feels totally normal. Imagine starting a game right here. You're just 1 point away from losing it before you've even scored. This is the exact kind of high-stakes situation that was recreated over and over and over again in practice. And why? To make the feeling of pressure completely familiar. And these are the tools they use to do it. These aren't just drills. They're basically simulations of adversity. I mean, take the comeback queen drills. You start a match already losing. That forces you to problem solve from the very first shot. It's all about systematically desensitizing your brain to that feeling of pressure. This simple phrase is the key to shifting your focus. When you're down 0-40, it is so easy to get lost in the math of the score, all the things that could go wrong. This cue forces the athlete to just forget all of that and focus on the only thing that matters: executing the very next point. A huge part of this phase is learning to play smart, not just play hard. And you can see the difference, right? Playing hard is all about raw power and trying to hit those risky hero shots. But playing smart, that's about disciplined decision-making. It's about using high-percentage plays to execute a clear tactical plan, even when you feel the pressure to do something miraculous. Okay, so now we're in the final stretch of the year, where all this training really gets put to the test. This phase is all about forging a true champion's mindset. You go from handling simulated pressure to bouncing back from real adversity, and then you transform all that resilience into leadership on the court. And this is how you build that autonomy. You have her play entire matches with 0 coaching assistance, forcing her to problem solve in real time. You have her mentor a younger player, which forces her to really articulate and solidify her own understanding. The whole goal is to move beyond just following instructions to truly owning her own strategy. This structured routine really shows that mental toughness isn't some switch you just flip on. It's a consistent, daily practice. From visualizing a few times a week, to setting a mental intention before every single practice, to journaling after every match, to even monthly video reviews just to assess body language, every single element is designed to build and maintain that mental fortress, day in and day out. And this is the ultimate mindset. I love this quote. The training isn't about creating a perfect player who never misses a shot. It's about creating a problem solver. Someone who, even on a day when they don't have their best stuff, can just scrap, adapt, and find a way to win. That is what winning ugly is all about. So, as we wrap things up here, the key takeaway isn't just about a series of drills. The real genius of this plan is its core philosophy. The process of preparing for pressure is actually more valuable than any single outcome. This quote says it all, doesn't it? You can't eliminate pressure. It's always going to be there. But you can practice it so relentlessly that when it shows up, it feels like an old friend. The anxiety starts to fade because you've been there 1,000 times before in training. You have a plan. And that brings us to the final question. We've looked at all this through the lens of tennis, but these principles are universal. I mean, think about that big presentation at work, or a difficult conversation you need to have, or any other high-stakes moment. Where could you use a reset routine? Where could you make pressure feel familiar? What would your own mental fortress look like?